Sup, Rotten? I've committed the ultimate sin when buying my Mac. I didn't upgrade the storage. And you know what that means, right? You have only one opportunity to do so, and that's it. You're done. Because your Mac storage is infamously unupgradable. Whenever you take a glance at your storage creeping towards maximum capacity, you're immediately reminded how you cheaped out when you shouldn't have. Like, did you really avoid spending an extra $1,200 for 4 terabytes of storage? Really? Apple was practically giving it away. But don't you worry, my frugal friend. Rotten Apple has got you covered. You see, PCs have always benefited from something Mac users could only ever dream of, and that's upgradability. The fact that they can upgrade any component of their computer whenever they want has always been a strong argument against getting a Mac. But who said you can't upgrade your storage like a PC could? All while saving money while doing so. That's right. Hold off on pressing that more expensive rectangle. You have options. Just like how you have the option to press that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. Isn't having free will amazing? Now you may be thinking I'm just talking about a plain old external SSD, and it is a solid state choice, wink wink. But what if I told you that you can take it a step further and build your own? That's right, I'm talking about the world of external SSD enclosures. The art of you building your own external SSD with the components that you choose. What are the benefits of getting an SSD enclosure rather than a pre-built SSD, you may be asking? And the answer is quite elementary. An SSD enclosure offers flexibility, allowing you to choose any SSD you desire, all while potentially improving performance at a lower cost and enabling easy swapping or upgrade. Pre-built SSDs may be more convenient but lack that flexibility, all while potentially being more expensive. And trust me, setting up your own SSD enclosure is a lot easier than you think, especially with the enclosure provided by Zyke, the sponsor of this video. Lucky for you, I just happen to be in the need of an SSD upgrade, being that my current SSD is almost at its limit. So let's build one for my Mac together. So because you're not just buying an external SSD and calling it a day, you're going to need a couple of things for this to work. All you would need is a compatible SSD, an SSD enclosure, and a little bit of ambition. First, the internal SSD. Yes, one you would put in something like a PC or PS5, and then get an SSD enclosure that would not only complement the speed and power of that SSD, but also your Mac. Luckily, Zyke stepped in and provided me with the perfect enclosure for what I needed to make it happen. Their SSD enclosure supports M.2 NVMe SSDs, which are the best type of SSDs on the market. My Mac is the M1 Max Mac Studio, and it's the main machine behind all of the work I do, from freelance to making these videos. My Mac supports Thunderbolt 4, which has an overkill bandwidth of 40 gigabits per second, and I would like my SSD to be good enough to properly utilize those kind of speeds for the work that I do. Upon further research, I decided to get the Samsung 990 Pro, as it's the best contender for my creative work, complements the speeds I'm looking for, as well as being extremely compatible with my Mac Studio. And thanks to the Zyke drive's protective, sleek, and quite frankly pretty sick design, it's also really good at heat dissipation, so I wouldn't need to worry about my expensive SSD overheating and potentially damaging it, saving future me from a potential headache. I decided on getting the 4 terabyte one, as it'll be the last SSD I'll probably need for a very long time. However, half of that amount of storage will be more than enough for most people, so I also provided some cheaper alternatives in the description below. You now have everything you need to make this happen. Now all you have to do is put it together. But first, let's unbox it. Right out the box, you get a Zyke drive in a transparent protective case, a manual, and a USB 4 cable. The Zyke drive actually comes with 2, with the second one cleverly placed within the enclosure. Both cables are capable of Thunderbolt 4 speeds, and for those of you wondering, you do not need any tool assembly for this thing, which is nice. For the Samsung 990 Pro, it's pretty straightforward, with the internal SSD just resting within the box. It's impressive how powerful this thing is considering its size. I love technology. Now to open the Zyke drive. All you would have to do is slide over the top casing, and there you'll see it lined with a thermal pad. From there, you just place your SSD within the drive like so, and twist the rubber plug to keep the drive in place, rip the plastic covering off of the thermal pad, and slide the top back on. And that's it. You're done. All you have to do now is plug in your Zeek drive to your computer with one of the available cables provided and do one final step. Upon connecting, you will be given this prompt. Nothing to be alarmed of. Just click initialize and set up how you want your SSD to be read, and disk utility should open. For Mac users, doing this next step will help utilize your Mac to its full potential. If you plan to use this SSD exclusively for Macs, then click erase and choose the APFS format. Doing this greatly improves the communication between your Mac and the SSD, thus resulting in much better performance, security, and overall file management fundamentals. If you are planning on using it between Macs and non-Mac devices, then you should format it to exFAT. And voila, you now have yourself a 4TB SSD sporting overkill speeds and spent only a fraction of what you would have otherwise spent by clicking on that forbidden box. And that's all thanks to Zyke. This would not have been possible without their fantastic enclosure. So if you're looking to save some money and build your own powerful SSD, then getting a Zyke drive is an absolute no-brainer, and I highly recommend it. Check them out in the description below. Do you regret choosing your Mac specs? Do you see yourself getting an SSD enclosure? Let me know in the comments. And if you would like early access to Ryan Apple videos long before the public gets to see them, or even a little custom avatar to go along with your name, feel free to support me on Patreon along with my Ryan and Ryan Pro subscribers, Vasco, Francisco Beck, Daniel, Miss Game, Carbon Ranger, and Takazma. Thank you all for the support as it keeps me dropping videos consistently, and thank you viewers for watching. If you want to see more of me, you know what to do. And I am so glad that SSD enclosures exist. Now, if we can just figure out a way to do the same thing but with RAM enclosures. Ooh, when people figure that out, Apple, you better count your days.